Good morning, everyone. This is Seychelle Van Poole here with Keller Williams in the North Texas, New Mexico, and Memphis region. And we have a very special guest and dear friend here with us today, which is Lisa Archer. Lisa has a great business in several different markets that we'll talk about today called Live Love Homes. She's also a mother of three beautiful kids and a wife and an awesome mom, a great friend, and a wonderful businesswoman. So, Lisa, are you there?
I am. How are you, Seychelle?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Well, our region is very excited to be putting this on with you today. We have a monthly feature that we do called Millionaire Mindset here, where we get into the mindset in the business of people that are succeeding at a high level, and we're excited to have you on. So, talk to me a little bit about your background. How did you get into real estate, and how did you get to Keller Williams?
Well, getting into real estate was a pretty interesting story in my mind. I went to college. I graduated with a master or with a degree in finance and management, and started in the banking. So I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we are the number 2 banking capital behind New York City, and we've got big banks here. And I got that managerial and finance degree and decided to go into banking. And within a couple of years, I had climbed the ranks from being a customer service person who was opening the checking accounts, serving the customers. I learned a lot. They had really good management training programs. They had really good management conversations on a weekly basis. And so I learned a lot about customer service and building a business and sales and finance. And when I had my daughter, who ironically just turned 13, I went out on maternity leave for, I had 12 or 13 weeks, I think, and I only took 9.
Wow.
And before I had gone out on maternity leave, I told my manager, I said, look, because I was driving an hour and 15 minutes each way to the office. I was like, I'm about to have a baby. I would love to move over to an office much closer to my house so I don't have 2+ hours of drive time every single day that's away from my family. And you would think that having proven myself and had the number 1 branch in our region,
Right.
that would have been something they would have wanted to do, whatever to do to, keep our leaders, right? And so I come back from maternity leave 3 to 4 weeks early, mind you, and I go to my first manager's meeting, and across the table, it's 2 new faces, and being social butterfly that I am and wanting to know who people are, and I introduced myself. I was like, oh, hey, I'm Lisa Archer. I'm the manager at the Park Road office, and what office are you at? And one of them introduced themselves, and they were within 5 miles of my house, and the other one introduced themselves, and they were 2 minutes from my house. So of course I did what any lactating, breastfeeding mom does. I went back into my office, and for the next 2 months, we crushed our goals. We hit everything out of the park. We were still number 1 by a good margin. And the week after our bonuses came out, I put in my 2 weeks notice.
Wow.
And lucky for me, my dad was in real estate, and he had just transferred over to Keller Williams within the last 6 months. And unlucky for me, he was not. His background was computer finance. He was an IT. He developed the software systems and systems for like Deloitte and Touche, and he worked for Deloitte, in fact, and for Cox Cable and Sunbeam and Van Heusen. Several big companies. Like, he developed their software and their computer programs. So like he could create a CRM. And the only thing was, like, he had top producer, which I like nicely coined top producer 1.0. And the first thing I learned about was database. Like I went to 30/60/90, which is now Ignite. And actually that's not even what it's called. 36. What was it? 36. I don't even remember.
90? Yeah.
443, all of that. So I did all of that, and which is now Ignite. And so I went to all those classes, and I went to all the regional events that I could. And I think it really became this ISA before that term was even coined.
Right.
I would go through his database. I added people from the church. I added every single person we met. I put them on an action plan. I learned the value of lead generating when I really didn't even know for sure what it was. We did a ton of handwritten notes. Every agent that I met at an event, I sent a handwritten note that it was great to meet them. So and that was 2005. She was born in '04. 2005, I became an ISA. And 2006, I went to my first family reunion about a month before I got licensed. And I met Mo, and I met Gary and Dave Jinks and Mark Willis. That back then they used to do the receiving line. I don't know if you remember that.
Yep.
But they used to do the receiving line. You get to take pictures with them. So, I remember telling Gary that one day I was going that we were going to be really good friends, and thankfully that's come true. And I mean, that's really just how it started.
Wow. That's something I didn't even know. So you're just under basically 12, 13, 13 years in the business. And
Mm-hmm.
because a corporation that you were working for and a company that you worked for didn't value quality of life, didn't value work-life balance, didn't value retaining and growing talent, right? They were just in
Yep.
numbers. They lost someone that could have made them millions of dollars of more in revenue, all because of them not paying attention to that person's big why and to what you needed at that point in your life. So
100%.
fast forward for me from 2006 family reunion to where did you go from there?
Well, so we, 2000, 2005, 2006, 2007, good years, right? Put a sign in the yard. It sold. It was, it was magical. You learn, you didn't have to do a ton of lead generation at that time. You basically just had to have conversations with as many people as you could talk to. And when you put a sign in the yard, you could hold an open house, or you didn't, or you did door knocking or postcards around it. We didn't have a huge system yet. Of course, this was me trying to put it together, and I am not a systems person at all, so that was very bad. So and then 2007 hit, right? And at the end of 2007, when Countrywide fell and it started the downturn, you had to get creative. And end of 2007, I had my third child. So Peyton was born in December, and I was so sick that year. I was sick the entire time I was pregnant with him. I was sick even an hour after he was born. Wow. So it was, and then he was an easy baby. Yet now I had two small children, and 2008 was harder. We really did have to learn how to, where most people either got out of the business or just kind of hid under a rock and tried to stay course. We started lead generating. I did a lot of it from home. I made a lot of phone calls. I made, nap time was key. I had to learn how to, when Peyton took a nap, I had to learn, make sure that that's the time that I was getting on the phone. I was going to follow up. I got good at, I started doing, internet lead generation.
I'm going to stop you there.
Facebook.
So
yeah.
So I think this is something that I hear a lot with, men and women with young families, and they've got little bitty ones at home. And what I want you to touch on is talk to me about how you scheduled that a little bit with kids, because you hear people say, oh, well, I did my lead generation at that point, but like you also have laundry that has to be done and dishes that need to be cleaned and the house that needed to be cleaned. Were you in an office? Were you at home? Talk to me a little bit about your schedule with young kids at that phase, because I think that that's something that a lot of people struggle with and kind of creating that balance in the chaos.
Well, so that means that 2008, and most of 2009, I think I worked from home. It was easier. I said before, I nursed, so it was easier to do it at home.
Right.
Yet I just figured out, if I got up before he got up, I could throw in a load of laundry. I could get my other two kids to school. And then when he got up, I would feed him, do whatever needed to do with him. He's a baby, so he could go into a playpen or into his rocker, and then you just get on the computer and you do what you need to do. You've created lists, or you have action plans, or you've got tasks that you need to do or follow up. You just make sure that you've got a list completed the night before, the afternoon before, whatever, and you just get it done. And I hadn't been to Bold yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember from being in, the pre-Ignite classes to do, make 20 contacts a day. So I just did that. That's what I did. If it meant we went on a walk and we met people at the park, I don't care who it was, I needed to have 20 contacts a day. Mm-hmm. And I found it easier also, it became something that I really enjoyed was Facebook. So I started making connections on Facebook, whether it was with agents. And our agent-to-agent referrals have grown to crazy numbers over the years just because I've been willing to meet people. And if anybody's got a question, try to help them out. Or, always come in from contribution. It's never going to hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
So it just, and then when he took a nap, I threw in another load of laundry or cleaned the bathroom and went back. And if I had responses from the morning lead generation or, sending messages on Facebook or whatever, then you just answered them during that time. And then by that time, one or two of the other kids was getting off to school or getting off the bus.
Right.
So that's just literally what we had to do.
It sounds like you use the systems and models that were available to you to help shortcut your success. And at the same time, you had to be really disciplined in your approach to make sure that you were focusing and prioritizing on lead generation first, and the rest of it can figure itself out. Is that fair?
Absolutely. Yes.
I think that's awesome. So then you start really exploding and growing your team. This is right around, I think, 2009, 2010 is when you and I met. And I'm watching you exploding your team and being very entrepreneurial and trying to figure out how to grow your business. Talk to me about where you go from there.
Well, so in I think it was Mega Camp 2010.
Yep.
It might have been 2009. Actually, it might have been 2009. So Mega Camp 2009, I saw Ben on stage, Ben Kinney, and he was talking to Gary, and I was like, okay, I need to meet this guy, and if the cable guy can do it, so can anyone else. Mm-hmm. And that's not knocking Ben at all. I love him to pieces. You know this. Yeah. It was just it was just his mindset, and it changed. And I went from, all right, this is no longer just just a job. That I need to run it. I need to run and start treating it as a business. And I had never done that before. It was a job. I got up because if I didn't get up, nothing else happened, right? Yeah. If my dad didn't get up, nothing happened for either of us. So, and at that point, we had, we had gone on appointments together. He was the license agent, like I said, for the first year, and then I got my license, and then I started making phone calls. We went on appointments together for a couple of years, especially while when I was so sick when I was pregnant, and then the year after when Peyton was so little, we went on appointments together, and then it became clear that he could implement systems and models much better than I could. So he became really the admin or success team, as we now call our admin team of our business. And he wrote my contracts. He sent them out. We got into electronic signatures really early because I had a habit of forgetting signatures or dates or so we had DocuSign 2 years prior to KW getting Dotloop, and then it was an easy transition for us to move from DocuSign over to Dotloop whenever they became part of the Edge. And long story short, like I said, he was like, I'm not taking these contracts back over there. And we've been very technologically advanced, so to speak, for a very long time. Mm-hmm. And so 2010, I did my first hold. And that fall, I hired 2 buyer's agents. And so Ben said, why hire one when you can hire 2? Mm-hmm. The only thing that's going to happen is either both of them push each other up and they're both amazing. One's going to push the other one out, or neither one of them were a good fit and you lose them both and then you hire again. So I did that. It was good for us. My first 2 buyer's agents, one is still with us. She's my lead buyer's agent in Charlotte, and she does all of my buyer referrals and has for the last, 8 years now. Mm-hmm. And the other one was with us for almost 3 years, and then he got a job that he had come from. So he had worked for a builder prior to the downturn. The builder had to lay him off, and then when things got better, they called him back and doubled his salary.
Wow.
I mean, what do you do with it? I was like, Dale, we love you. Get out of here. Just make sure you send us all your referrals. What do you do with that? I'm proud of him. I'm happy for him. And he's still there today, and he still sends us referrals. We talk to him all the time. We've got a really good relationship with the builder because of it. And so then the next year we hired another buyer's agent who's been with me. He's still with us. And then a couple of years after, and that next year we hired DA, who is now our director of expansion. Okay. And you've met her. Denise was just with you a couple weeks ago, and she lives in Dallas. So And then I took Bold again that next year. So 2010, I took it, 2011, took it 2012, 13, 14, maybe not 14, I think it was 15. Long story short, I've taken Bold just about every year except for 2 in the past 7.
That's awesome. And would you say that it helped you?
Every time you take it, because I remember my third Bold, and because I took it, my first Bold was a John Prescott intro. The next year I took it in Greenville, South Carolina, which is about 2 hours from my house. Again with John Prescott. The next year I took it North Charlotte. So it's almost an hour north of my house with Pat Mancuso. And then I took another one with Chris McNamara and another one with Liza along with KW. Long story short, every time I took it, and my third one, I remember my oldest asked me, it's like, Mom, why do you give you guys that's the page one where you take the commitment to your family? And he's like, Mom, why are you taking this class? Did the information change? And I said, no, dude, Mom did. Because every time you take it, you're in a different place. You're a different place in your, personal life. You're a different place in your business. You're a different place with yourself personally. So,
and that's a great way to sum it up, right? With Bold, the material doesn't have to change because you changed.
Yeah.
And you're in a different place every time you take the class. I think that's
every time. Yeah. Well, I mean, think about all the times that we've gone into masterminds. We've gone to Frame Reunion or Mega Camp, or we've heard Gary talk. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Right. I can't tell you how many times I've heard him say something over and over and over again. And like the 27th time I heard him, like, oh, God, that's what he meant. He probably thinks we're stupid. That's why he keeps saying the same thing every time he talks to us. 99.9% of the times we walked into the room with Gary, what does he do? Yeah. He draws the triangle every single time. And we all look at each other and kind of laugh, but it is what it is.
And he teases us too, because he says, until you guys have truly mastered this, none of the rest of the conversation matters. So let's get back to mastery on the things that matter. And and it's so humbling because he even says, I haven't fully mastered this at times. Sometimes I have to go back and draw the triangle myself.
Absolutely.
So it boils down to leads and then to listings and then leverage. And at any point in time, you're pulling a lever on one of those 3 that you have to get better at.
Absolutely.
So talk to me about expansion. I really consider you one of the first maybe 2 or 3 people in the country that really started getting into expansion. What went through your head that made that sound like a good idea when you first started exploring?
Well, I don't know what made it. I don't know what made it a good idea. I know what made it exciting. Which is where we can talk about failures. I could write buy the T-shirt and own the T-shirt company for Fail Forward on Expansion. Yet, what I know is, it naturally happened for us. So, 2014, my former business partner that we've been in business together for almost 4 years at that point. She was in another market, and it made, when the first idea of expansion even came about, it was like, oh, well, that would make sense. She's in another market. We could we could have all admin on the back end, do all of our transactions. That made sense to me. I went to ESO like 3 or 4 times that first year. Now, where I messed up, and this is what, Fail Forward number 1, where I messed up was that she never went with me. So I don't care how good of an orator or a teacher or a leader you are, there's no way you can explain expansion to someone.
Right.
Ever. If they don't go to the class and they don't see the material and they don't have the ahas for themselves, if they don't work through the workbook, if they don't listen to Gary on the videos talk about what expansion is, So that was absolutely Fail Forward number 1. My entire success team went, and they've been multiple times over the last three years. Which is why things have gotten better, but it's ultimately why it didn't work with her. And we ultimately got out of business because she didn't go, and I didn't make her. And I know you can't make someone do something, and shame on me that I moved forward thinking I could explain it to her well enough.
Sure.
You can't.
Well, I think too, sometimes having different teachers, you hear things differently. And we have to be careful as leaders not to create a vacuum, right? And where they only hear us teaching or only see us leading. I think it's really important for our teams and the people around us to see other people in the journey with us, to say things
Mm-hmm.
differently so they can be heard differently, to give different examples of how things have come to fruition in their business that might connect in a different way. And I think
Mm-hmm.
something that as business leaders and as team owners, we all have to be really careful of. That's something that I'm reminded of all the time too. And if they're not expanding their network and their mentor base and their influence, then ultimately they're growing backwards because you're moving forward and they're not.
Yeah. Well, what does Gary talk about? He says, sometimes the people who got you here won't be the people that take you there. Like you may get to a point where the business has outgrown who you're in business with.
Yes.
Or they are no longer on the same vision plan, and don't necessarily see the vision as it gets bigger.
And that doesn't mean that they're a bad person and
Absolutely not.
that they were a wrong hire at that point. It just means that they either need to continue on the path to grow with you, or they may be deciding that the role is no longer a fit for them in the long run.
Absolutely.
So,
which is why you have to keep going to class together.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good lesson. Thank you for sharing that. So you expand into one market, you start to figure that out. Tell me like a couple of things that you wish you would have known before you expanded into that second market.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Well, when you expand into that second market, and you would know this, you find all the holes. Like you find the holes in your systems, you find the holes in your process, you find the holes in your models, you find the holes in some of your people, you find the holes in your lead generation, you find the holes, and there's just things you don't know that you don't know until you get somewhere. Mm. I can give you just examples on, like, we went to the beach. We had we were like, our signs that are amazing that Monty makes with, Jackpot for Charlotte, that he's made our signs for years. When we took those same signs over to the beach, within 30 to 40 days, you couldn't read them.
Wow.
And we were like, what's going on here? What's going on here? Oh, salt air. It eats away at that chloroplast. So what worked in Charlotte is never going to work at the beach. And the same thing when we went to a market that had snow.
Wow.
So we were in, put our signs in the yard, and within, number one, they're not tall enough for 3 feet of snow. Mm-hmm. Unless you just stick them on top of the snow, and then you got to watch as the snow melts because they go down, 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 right? Mm-hmm. There's just those things you don't know. And, local and loss rules. As we have expanded into new locations and had more and more conversation with more leadership, team leaders, OPs, whatever, brokers, our question list has got, Denise's favorite question, I swear to you, is probably, all right, so what's the weird, wacky thing in your market that I don't know that I need to know? Mm-hmm. It could be about lead gen. It could be about conversations. It could be about people are not going to answer a phone that's a different area code. It could be about the signs. It could be, it doesn't matter what it is. She's got a list, and she goes through the entire list, and it grows every time she has a conversation.
That's really cool. And that's amazing to me that even the signs don't work the same. I mean, that's as basic as it gets, right?
Yep. Well, yeah, so even when we were expanding, so we were in Charlotte, we were Live Love Charlotte, right? That's simple. When we expanded, I wanted to be Live Love Homes, and come to find out when I went to buy the URL that somebody had it. And I didn't know for months who it was, and even though I was doing research and whatever, well, come to find out, a Keller Williams agent in California had seen me on stage with Gary, and we were talking about Live Love Charlotte, and that, our future expansion plans looked like this. Well, and I didn't say anything about, I didn't say Live Love Homes, like I didn't name it because I hadn't bought it yet. And he went home and bought a whole bunch of Live Love URLs. Well, Live Love Homes happened to be one of them. And so I found out who he was, and luckily, all those relationships that I formed on Facebook, potentially originally, and met in real life, I knew his team leader. And I called his team leader and I said, hey, I need your help. I said, what's it worth to you? It wasn't, you have a conversation with him. He happened to be in Bold. They were in Bold together. And he just went to him and said, hey, dude, Lisa Archer's a really good friend of mine. She is expanding and really would love to know what liveofhomes.com is worth to you. And he got it back for me for a coaching call, and I was super happy about that. So, but, and in the meantime, we had done Live Love Realty. Well, even in South Carolina, which we are licensed in, you can't use the word realty anymore. It got banned, or, they had it, whatever, unless you were the actual brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
So we were even out of compliance here locally, for 30 days or so until we found out.
So because you worked through the proper channels and the other gentleman was of integrity, you guys were able to work that out to make it a win-win for your branding on expansion. And I think that's a lesson too, when you're planning your business, to think big enough that it could be bigger than your location, right?
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
so how many cities are you in now, or how many locations are you in now?
We are in 7. So we're in Charlotte, and then we've got an office in Lake Norman, which is North Charlotte on the lake. And our Charlotte team literally is on the line of South Carolina, so we cover the entire upstate.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, Birmingham, Alabama, Gulf States, Alabama, which is Pensacola to Gulf Shores.
Nice.
And then we're in Louisville, and we just launched in Boston. Actually, I think that might be 8. I can't count. And then we've got an office in Bellevue, Washington.
Wow. So those are very diverse locations.
Yes, they are. And they have come out of something else that I learned along the way. Teaching, coaching, real life relationships matter.
Yeah.
And every single person that we're in a relationship with, I've either met, talked to, or taught in their market center. And it's a big thing for us, and especially myself, to teach in their market centers. I want them to be able to see, all right, this is who I'm going to be working with. This is who I'm getting into business with, because it's a business. Mm-hmm. And that would be that's another fail forward. It's not just an agent that you're hiring to go put signs and have closings.
Right.
Signs in the yard are great, and that's what you have to have closings. Yet that's not the only reason you want to get in business with somebody. Do they have a business plan? Do they, can they be a business owner? Can they be a recruiter? Are there people in their market that want to work with them? If not, you might have a problem.
Right.
Because they can't, that means they'll never be able to go on vacation. That means they're never going to be bigger than just themselves. And I want to be in business with people that when we get together 2, 3, 4 times a year, like now when we go to family reunion or mega camp, we do an Airbnb instead of a hotel, and we all stay together. And we have our team advance. We come to a central location. This past year we went to Lake Lure. The year before that, we did come to Charlotte. And next year we're going to Orlando. So I want to be able to, have a drink with somebody or have dinner with somebody and have conversation, play games, whatever.
Mm-hmm. And be able to connect, yeah. And mm-hmm. You're looking at them not just as a runner or a sign filler or an order taker. You're looking at them as a business extension of you in another city. It's similar to the banking, right? They're running their own branch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It makes perfect sense. So when you look at candidates, what are some of the key things that you look for as personality traits or track history or, whatever it is? What are some of the core common traits or values that you have defined that really match in your business?
Well, somebody that's got grit, if they're making 100 expired phone calls and they get to number 99, are they going to pick up the phone and call the 100th one, even if all the other ones were no? Somebody that, they're going to get up day after day after day, and they're going to make sure that their clients are cared for, that their tasks are taken care of, that, they align with our core values. I believe that there's only really 2 reasons you ever get out of business with somebody. Number one, either there's a culture issue and you're not, that can't be fixed, right? Mm-hmm. Or the other one is you're no longer on the same business plan. You get into business together, you high five, you think kumbaya, you've got a business plan you're both going towards, and if for one reason or another, one of you gets off the straight and narrow and going towards a business plan, mm-hmm. you're going away from each other. There's no way you can stay in business together. And sometimes it's neither good nor, it's not bad, it's not good, it just is. Mm-hmm. And I want to love someone that gets off the business plan as much as I did when they were on it. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping, my hope is that when they come in and we teach them how to lead generate, and we teach them how to, give them our playbook, which has our lead generation levers in it. And we talk to them about, mastery and getting a time block, or whatever it is, all the things that they've learned under our coaching, our training, our leadership, I want them to be able to take that and build a business that may not be with us. I'm okay with that. I can cheer from them if they've got on a different jersey.
Mm-hmm. That makes perfect sense. And so if someone is considering joining an expansion team, looking at it from the other side of a coin, what are some questions they should be asking or things that they should be considering when they're evaluating expansion teams?
Well, I think they need to decide if the vision plans align. Are they of the same culture? Could you imagine yourself spending real time with them? We have meetings every single Friday. We have a Fail Forward Friday meeting. It's standing on Zoom every single Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Everyone gets on, no matter what time zone you're on. It's 11 o'clock for Eastern time. And we have a conversation about what were your failures of the week? What did you learn? What were your successes? And what are your goals for the weekend? It can be personal. It can be business. Most of the time it is business, but sometimes it's, I really stuck with my kids this week, or I got so far off out of my diet, I may have to fast all weekend, or, somebody might be training for a half marathon, or somebody's having surgery, or we've got one agent who's in Louisville, and my God, her city's flooded right now. So, that for this week, our conversations with her look like, all right, what can we do to help you keep up on your tasks? Because we don't want her to get behind, right? How can we pitch in? So, every week we have that fail forward call where we all look at each other and we're having conversation, and everybody gets to know everybody, personal and business wise. We have a Slack channel where we're daily, high-fiving each other and or bringing out or sharing business. I do a coaching, a little bit of coaching every single morning. I send them something to start their day. And then we have private groups, for open houses, because we do a lot of open houses. And we have, other groups for like the closing success team and, listings and all sorts of things. So we're a pretty big part of each other's lives. And we want to make sure that everyone knows everybody. And if they've got a question, comment, concern, excitement, whatever it is, that they feel free that they can ask or share.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. So when somebody's looking in from the outside at an organization, because you're familiar with, you teach expansion systems operations, right? You teach that.
I do.
And several other teams that have expanded. What do you think they need to be looking at from whether it's training, whether it is support, whether it's systems, whether it's people? Like, what are the 3 or 4 key things that they need to make sure that they don't miss or that they need to ask in that situation?
Well, for starters, if you've not been to at least ESO Lite, so Expansion Systems Operations Lite, you need to go find one. See, if your market center hasn't had one, I would go ask your team leader, hey, can you bring in an ESO Lite instructor? Or I do happen to have one of our ESO training classes on video. I had somebody who did record it, so I do have it. Send me a message. I would share it with you. At least you need the information. You need to know what to look for, what exactly expansion is, because the truths and myths about expansion are crazy. I taught ESO Lite 30 something times last year. Denise taught it 20 times with me. So we I can pretty much quote Gary on all of the videos when they start. It's kind of freaky. And then at the end of the year, because I had taught that material so much, I was given the opportunity to teach ESO the 2-day 5 times, which I am teaching this year as well. Spoiler alert, the first class that I have completely booked is in DFW, June 13th or 14th. I'll get you the link. And
we'll send that out with
I would go to those classes. Just go, right? Just go. So you can see organizational models and playbooks, and just to know this, it's not all about the leads. It's about the entire
package
thing. It's about the systems. It's about the models. It's about, the coaching and the support. And, are they going to hold you accountable to a CGI or, and help you create 135 business plans and do a monthly 411 to keep you on your calendar? Do they have what a good day in the life looks like? Do they have walls of value or value propositions? And are they going to help you build a growth plan? What is it that you want to do? And they should be they should be the ones that are helping you get there. Find out what you want and find out what it is that, what lead gen lever are you going to pull? Do they specialize in that one, or do they have a plan? At least have a plan around it.
Yeah.
So those would be the questions that I would ask.
Got it. That's great. And then what else do we need to know about Lisa that we haven't asked you yet?
Let's see. Well, one of the things that I would share would be, and this was an aha for us about a year ago when I was teaching ESO Lite. I was showing our current org chart at the time, and I just said, when we wake up every single day, we should be earning our right to stay in that seat, and we should also be looking for the person who's it's a natural fit for them to be in that role next. So be looking to replace yourself. Is there somewhere else on the org chart that you want to go? Or is there a circle or a line that isn't even on the org chart yet? Is there something that you want to create? A good example of that is, Denise has gone from, an EA to, she led the Charlotte team to director of operations to director of expansion. And the next role that she wants, and she's created it for herself, is director of training. And I'm super happy for her to fill that because it means that I will be training less. She gets to train more. I love it. She's working on, potentially working on getting to be a MAPS coach by the end of the year. And to do that, she's got to fill her seat, which means she's got to have expansion partners or regional directors in expansion roles that can take that job from her. It's not just going to be, there's probably not going to be somebody walk in overnight, although somebody could. Walk in, overnight and just that's just going to take that role. I envision it being somebody that's already in our world or that is soon to be in our world that's going to earn the right to take that role. Mm-hmm. I'm not about, it's not really, I don't think it's fair that somebody comes in and takes it that hasn't earned it, that doesn't know our systems, doesn't know our models, hasn't been through anything with us. Now, I could be totally wrong and somebody pops up and they're the perfect fit. Yet right now I do envision it's going to be somebody from within.
It does help though, I think, in an organization when culture is really important, which I know is important in your organization, to be able to grow within, because that culture stays a little bit more intact than if you're continually bringing from the outside. And that's something Canada International has done too. When you look at all the leaders that have risen either to regional roles or a higher up roles inside of Keller Williams International, I don't really think there are any at all that have come from outside of the organization.
Mm-mm.
I think that's a smart tactic. I totally understand that. Well, I cannot thank you enough, Lisa, for your time today. And just so you guys know, I'm going to give you the dates and the details for the upcoming ESO, and this is the ESO 2 day, correct, Lisa?
Yes, ma'am.
ESO 2 day is coming. It's going to be June 13th and June 14th. That's going to be over at the Flower Mound office from 8:30 to 5 o'clock. And when we send out the link to this recording today, we will also send a link out for ESO as well. So you can come take it with Lisa and ask her additional questions that you might have in person. And I just can't thank you enough for your time. We know it's incredibly valuable and we really appreciate you. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Seychelle.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. And our next one coming up next month is going to be Sarah Reynolds, who is out of the Virginia, DC, Maryland area. And she's going to talk to us how she went from 200 sales to 400 sales in a year and what it took for them to get there. So Lisa, again, thank you on behalf of our entire region. We appreciate you. And I will look forward to seeing you here at Mega Camp soon.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.